Okay, you're the Dungeon Master, and you've been preparing a game that's gonna go along the lines of something like this. A wizard wanted infinite gold, so he created a stone that could transform dirt into gold, like a philosopher's stone. This very magical stone was then buried underground so that it could turn all the nearby dirt into gold. However, it was so magical that it turned the dirt around it sentient. And now earth elementals are attacking all the nearby towns, the wizard is responsible, and there's this big, giant earth elemental leader that is deep underground that the players gotta stop so people don't die anymore. Session start. The players are attacked by earth elementals at a tavern. Through some roleplay, they find out where the dungeon of these earth elementals are. Along the way, they meet a Zorn. They then go to the dungeon. It's a deep cave network and system where they go through traps and puzzles that are all dirt and earth themed. Then they get to the final room, the big boss battle, the end to this entire quest. The wizard is there, all beefed up with magic, wanting to take back his stone. The earth elemental is there, wanting to kill the wizard for enacting such heinous, sentient magics throughout the world. And the players are there. They have a Zorn. The party will have to end this conflict one way or another. Let them fight, kill the wizard, kill the earth elemental, maybe kill them both and take the thing for themselves, or they can just walk away. The choices are many. They will have to make this decision for themselves. Nah! Dispel Magic! Turn off his mage armor, turn off his fly, turn off the stone, who cares? Just flip the magic off switch until all your problems are solved! Okay, before we get into this rant, ad time. Jacob, what is this? Oh, this? This is the map for today. It looks terrible. It looks like you dumped ink out onto the map. There's zero artistic integrity. It looks like you tried to do something isometric, but you have no idea what 3D looks like. What am I looking at? It's a bridge. Well, you should have used Dungeon Craft. You're right, I'm an idiot! Dungeon Craft, our sponsor for today's video. Easy to use terrain tiles for your D&D and RPG games. Pick out props and put your encounter maps together with ease. There's lots to choose from, including 1985 Games' brand new Kickstarter that's got 15 days left as of this video being uploaded. It includes cursed lands to replicate encounters and maps from things like Curse of Strahd or whatever kind of gothic horror game you're planning next. Jacob, what is this? I'm trying to draw Ravenloft! Dungeon Craft map pieces come in a neat book that's easy to store, organize, and take on the go. It's awesome to take out one of these bad boys and be like, wha-bam! Here's your map, you're in a tavern now. Enhance your D&D games and go get yourself some better maps for your players that are easy to use. Link in the description to their Kickstarter. Okay, Dispel Magic time. So Daddy Chappie made a video recently talking about Counterspell and why he doesn't like it, and I mostly agree with him. That is a pretty frustrating spell. Just to start your turn and then do your thing and then have somebody else cast the you don't get a turn ability. It's almost like the same thing as Stunning Strike. But from my point of view, the Jedi are evil, and also, so is Dispel Magic. While Counterspell is like the middle finger to your 6-second turn, Dispel Magic is like a kick in the nuts to your week-long planning. Mage Armor, dispelled. Magic item, dispelled. Almost anything in D&D can be categorized under a magical effect, item, or creature. Creature? Can you just turn off fire elementals? I think it more means like a spell affecting a creature, but hang on, I'm getting to that. Now, Dispel Magic does have a DC and a spell attack modifier check that you have to make in order for it to even work, so you can't just run around willy-nilly turning off magic wherever you want to go. It's also a 3rd level spell, meaning it's more on the higher tier of magical spells. I mean, it's the same tier as Fireball and Fly, which is pretty powerful. It's also a pretty niche spell, not being nearly as powerful as a spell like Fireball or Fly. However, much like Counterspell, Dispel Magic can just wink out any spell underneath 3rd level. There's no check for that. Even things like cantrips, maybe even magic mouths, traps, anything having to do with spells underneath the 3rd level can be instantly negated by this spell. Not even counterspell can do that. As counterspell, you need to be there when it's cast. Dispel Magic, it does not matter. It also depends on what kind of DM you are and how you rule this spell. Do you take into account the wording of spell, in which this spell becomes kind of useless, as you would have to know what spell is there, and that's the only specification as to what you can dispel from Dispel Magic? It has to be a casted spell from another caster? Or are you more like myself and consider most things in D&D magic and spells, they're all just kind of one thing. Spells are more of just a combination and organization of what the casters in the class-specific section of creating your character can do, and most things in D&D that are magical effects and thus spells. Hold on, mid-editing Jacob here to come in with some clarifications. By Raw, I am actually wrong about this. Wizards of the Coast made a clarification and specified that Dispel Magic deals with spells, not creatures, magic items, or anything of the sort. If you cast a spell from a magic item, you can dispel the spell that it created, but not the magic item itself, and so on. Although, that doesn't stop an animated sword, Baba Lysaga's hut, or Smokepowder from being affected by the Dispel Magic. I get it, it's kind of like a fun little Dispel Easter egg, meaning that, unless specified, this spell only affects spells and special little things. However, it's really frustrating how inconsistent this spell is and how confusing it can be when it says target magical effect, when of course it means if the magic effect was created by a spell, unless it's goddamn Smokepowder, in which you can dispel it for some reason. That's not even a magical effect! It's Smokepowder! It's so vague and it doesn't make any sense that it's really difficult to cast and work throughout your D&D games, making it a really frustrating spell to deal with in the first place. On top of that, it's a spell that gets rid of things. It's not like the first time you casted Magic Missile and everybody's confused like, wait, you don't have to attack for that? And it's like, no, you just do damage. And everyone's like, wow, that's so easy and simple to understand. Did you just do damage? Because this is in the confines and rules of the system. Dispel Magic goes outside the box, which granted is kind of cool, but it goes outside of the box to step on the box. So there's my explanation about the thing that is dumb. Now I'm going to explain why it's even more dumb. I'm not a smart man, but I know what love is. And hate. I think the biggest problem and also the biggest fix for this spell is due to the fact that there is no counterpoint to it. You don't need a counter spell to a fireball like an ice ball. If you are a monk or a rogue, you can dodge a fireball. If you can be immune or resistant to fire damage. There's magic items that can also grant you that. Dispel Magic doesn't have any counter to it. The only counter is, oh, I hope the dice roll is low enough. It would be really cool if there was some kind of imbue magic or ignite magic spell. You could disable magic with Dispel Magic, but then you could reignite it with a different spell. And that spell, this ignite spell in our imagination, could even do other things alongside being a counter for Dispel Magic. In turn, I think that's what would make Dispel Magic a more interesting spell, the fact of its existence, which is already a point in why I don't like it in D&D to begin with. The fact of its existence frustrates me. I know a lot of people have talked about that the remove disease spells and abilities that paladins and clerics get effectively make it so that there could never be a pandemic in D&D world, and so they just make diseases that paladins and clerics can't heal. Which, yeah, that's frustrating, and that makes sense that you would go about that. But have we ever thought about the fact that most relatively powerful wizards can kind of just dispel magic? And we never take that into account, and that's the part I don't like. What would be cool is if there was a spell that could dispel things like that, but then you could fix them with the imbuing magic spell, and thus it wouldn't be that big of a problem. And then it becomes more of a tool that the players can use in order to further their goals, and then you can give your enemies that revitalizing spell, or it could be vice versa. The bad guys can have Dispel and your players can have the reignite magic spell. You could even have the similar thing for counterspell. You could have a counterspell. I guess you can counterspell. It would be really cool if there were more spells based off of denying magic and rebuilding magic, kind of a subsection of abjuration. And in D&D, you could have these wizard battles where wizards are constantly trying to get spells off, but they're always like denying them and then remaking them, denying them, and making them more powerful. Like, that would be interesting, instead of just having one asshole who decided that he was going to learn Dispel Magic and Counterspell, and he just goes, no, 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 ha, 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 ha. I don't think Dispel Magic as a idea and concept is dumb. I just think the way it's executed right now in 5th edition is really frustrating. Maybe that's that's too long for a YouTube title. I could not name it that, so I'm gonna name it the thing that is named right now. In conclusion, I don't want a haha your turn and planning is gone spell. I think that's dumb. I think that instead there should be a system built around dispelling magic into subsections of spells and then counters for those spells as well. That would be really interesting and really cool. So what do we do about this? What's the fix? Well, I'm not going to tell players that they just shouldn't take this spell, because that'd be ridiculous. And maybe DMs don't need to incorporate this entire homebrewed system that I'm implying. And you maybe shouldn't take away the spell, because banning spells is silly and dumb. Players, stop taking Dispel Magic, okay?